As I mentioned earlier, I'm sharing the first of two talks from Luke 7. So I want to read, if I can, the first section of Luke 7. That's actually Luke 7, 1 through to verse 10. When Jesus had finished saying all this to the people who were listening, he entered Capernaum. There a centurion's servant, whom his master valued highly, was sick and about to die. The centurion heard of Jesus and sent some elders of the Jews to him, asking him to come and heal his servant. When they came to Jesus, they pleaded earnestly with him. "This man deserves to have you do this, because he loves our nation and has built our synagogue." So Jesus went with them. He was not far from the house when the centurion sent friends to him, saying, "Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I don't deserve to have you come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him. And turning to the crowd following him, he said, "I tell you, I've not found such great faith even in Israel." Then the men who'd been sent returned to the house and found the servant well. Now, this is a fascinating passage. It's as Jesus enters his hometown of Capernaum. Now, that's the place where he lived, where much of his ministry was exercised. And he's approached by a group of Jewish elders sent by a centurion. They were there, if you like, to validate the request that the centurion was making. They talk about the fact that the centurion is really worthy of being helped. This centurion values his servant, and the elders added their own view. Listen to what they have to say. When they came to Jesus, they pleaded earnestly, "This man deserves to have you do this." So he was probably a good man and thought of highly because of all that he did. But the centurion didn't really feel worthy to have Jesus under his roof. I don't know that we ever have quite that experience, but I'm sure we understand it. When somebody coming, we don't feel up to them. We don't feel like we match them. This centurion certainly felt that way as far as Jesus is concerned. He was not far from the house when the centurion sent his friends to say, "Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I don't deserve to have you come under my roof." Now, Luke has an emphasis upon humility and care for those people who cannot return love. It's one of the great Lucan themes. For me, this gospel account has three important lessons to teach us. Certainly, the value of people. The centurion really shows us he has real concern and value for his servant, especially those who are not usually being given concern. A centurion wouldn't usually have this sort of concern for his or her servant. Not at all, but he did. And then also the breaking down of barriers. Now, I find that that's important. All throughout Luke's gospel, there's the breaking down of barriers. The unlikely, the unreached, the untouchable. They're the people that Jesus reaches out to. And here we find Jesus, if you like, this is a different kind of barrier. This is a barrier that excludes so often those people, not only who are down, but those who are up, those who are important, those who are significant. And the Romans would feel in many ways so different than the Jews. And for Jesus and for all those who would have been watching what he had to say, this was another barrier being broken down as a centurion comes to him and who Jesus brings healing to. You remember, this centurion recognized that Jesus had authority. He said, "I'm one who has authority. I can ask this person to do this, and they do it. I ask that person to do that, and they do it." The truth is that here, recognizing who Jesus is something that quite amazes Jesus. He says, "I've never seen anything of this kind of thing amongst all the people I've met to this point. But in a centurion, I see something of this recognition of authority. I see something of this reaching out for help." And it really is such an important thing that Jesus not only reaches out to him, but brings healing to this servant. Would the centurion ever forget it? I suspect not. Will the centurion talk about it? Well, we don't know that. But we do know that many, many Romans were impressed by what they saw in Jesus Christ, even to the very top where they didn't want to bring about those things that would eventually lead to the cross. And there is a real sense in which Jesus has broken down barriers. And that is a pattern for all of us if we follow Jesus Christ. All of us can follow the pattern of reaching out for help, crossing barriers, and enabling other people to cross the barriers with and for us and find healing in that way. So in Luke's gospel, it is the faith of a centurion, because he wouldn't have sent him to Jesus if he did not have faith. And Jesus says about his faith, because it's about his faith, it's not admiration, it's about his faith that he says, I tell you, I have not found such faith even in Israel. Gosh, what a statement. What a claim to make about this centurion who comes to Jesus, sends to Jesus for help. A pattern for every one of us.